Stop trying to win arguments. The FBI figured out decades ago that winning doesn't work the way you think it does. In 2002, a man walked into a bank in Pittsburgh with a bomb strapped to his chest. He had a gun, a dead man's switch, and a demand for $250,000. Everyone in that building was going to die. The FBI didn't shoot him. They didn't storm the building. They talked to him for 4 hours. And they used one rule so counterintuitive that most people think it's weakness. You're probably using it backwards every single day. In your arguments, in your relationships, in every conversation that starts falling apart and you have no idea why. Let me guess what you do when someone gets upset. You talk more. You explain more. You try harder to be right. You think if you just say it clearer, if you just lay out the facts, they'll finally see it your way. Wrong. Dead wrong. Here's what the FBI knows that you don't. People don't change their behavior because you gave them information. They change when they feel understood. This isn't therapy. This isn't being nice. The FBI calls it tactical empathy. And it's not about agreeing with someone or surrendering your position. It's about making them feel heard before you try to be heard. In 1996, 126 hostages were taken in the Japanese embassy in Peru. Marxist rebels, armed, dug in, refusing to negotiate. The Peruvian government wanted to storm the building, guns blazing, bodies everywhere. But the FBI-trained negotiators spent 126 days, 4 months, just listening, labeling emotions, reflecting back what they heard. No threats, no force, just understanding. And on day 127, every single hostage walked out alive. Not one shot fired, not one body bag. That is not luck. That is a system. Here's what's actually happening in your brain when you feel misunderstood. Your amygdala, your brain's security guard, hits the panic button. Logic centers go completely offline. You could present the most perfect argument in human history, Nobel Prize level reasoning, and it would bounce off like a tennis ball hitting a tank. Because when someone feels attacked or dismissed, their brain stops processing information and starts protecting itself. But when someone feels understood, everything changes. The walls come down, not because they lost, but because they stopped fighting. They no longer feel like they're in an argument. Let's test this right now. Your partner says, "You never listen to me." Response A: "That's not true. I literally just listened to you for 20 minutes. Response B: "It sounds like you feel completely invisible in this relationship." See the difference? Response A is a defense. Response B is a mirror. In every argument you've ever lost, you were probably doing response A, explaining, defending, proving you're right. And every time you did that, the other person fought harder. Not because they're stubborn, because you just proved their point. They still weren't heard. They still weren't seen. So they had to fight louder. Now here's where most people get stuck. They hear this and they think, okay, so I just need to be nicer. I just need to validate people more. And that's where they crash and burn. Because tactical empathy is not validation. Validation is saying, you're right to feel that way. Tactical empathy is saying, I see that you feel that way. One creates dependency, the other creates connection. One makes you a doormat, the other makes you dangerous. FBI negotiators are not nice people. They are effective people. They don't care about being liked. They care about outcomes. And the outcome they want is not surrender. it's cooperation. Those are two completely different things. Let me show you how this falls apart in real life. You're at work. Your boss dumps a project on you at 4:55 p.m. on a Friday. Your instinct is to say, "I can't do this, I have plans, this isn't fair." And your boss hears that as resistance, as laziness, as you not being a team player. So they push back harder. Now you're both locked in. But what if you said this instead? "It sounds like this project is urgent and you're under a lot of pressure to get it done." Full stop. Let that land. Your boss just felt seen, not agreed with, seen. And now they're not fighting you anymore. Now they're working with you, because you stopped being the obstacle and started being the ally. That is the shift. That is the entire game. The FBI has 3 moves. That's the entire toolkit. Move 1 is the label. Instead of "calm down," which has never worked in the history of human language, you say this: "It sounds like you feel completely overwhelmed right now." Name the emotion. Don't fix it. Name it. Move 2 is the paraphrase. "It seems like you feel like nobody in this room has been listening to you." You're not agreeing, you're reflecting. There's a massive difference. Move 3, and this is the hardest one, is the silence. After you label the emotion, you stop talking. You let them fill the space. Most people will soften immediately, not because you solved their problem, but because you finally acknowledged it exists. You finally saw it. But here's what nobody tells you. Silence is terrifying. When you stop talking, your brain screams at you to fill the void. You feel awkward. You feel like you're losing control. You feel like if you don't say something, they will. And they will. But that's the point. Because when they speak next, they won't be defending. They won't be attacking. They'll be explaining. And explanation is the first step toward resolution. The FBI knows that the person who speaks first after a label loses leverage. Not because of manipulation, because the first person to break the silence is the one who still feels the need to control the conversation. And control is the enemy of understanding. Now let's go deeper. Why does this work on everyone? Your angry neighbor, your passive-aggressive coworker, your teenager who won't talk to you, your parent who still treats you like a child. It works because every single one of them is fighting the same battle. The battle to be seen. Not agreed with, not fixed. Seen. And when you give them that, something flips. They stop fighting you and start fighting the actual problem. That's why the FBI doesn't rush to solutions. They slow everything down. They listen for emotion, not just words, and then they label it. Because naming an emotion has a powerful psychological effect. It helps the other person feel seen, and when someone feels seen, their defensiveness naturally starts to drop. Not because they lost the argument, because they no longer feel like they're in one. This isn't just for hostage negotiators. Most disagreements in your life aren't about facts. They're about emotions that never got acknowledged. That one sentence at work, "It sounds like you feel like your input doesn't matter here," can undo 3 hours of tension. That one text to a friend, "It seems like you felt ignored in that situation," can repair a friendship that was about to crack. The email that started a workplace war, the comment that ended a friendship, the family dinner that turned into a screaming match. All of it comes from the same place. Someone felt dismissed. Someone felt unseen. And instead of addressing that, everyone jumped straight to solutions. Here's the paradox that breaks most people's brains. FBI negotiators don't win by overpowering people. They don't win by being smarter, louder, or more logical. They win by making people feel understood first. Control without understanding doesn't last. Force creates resistance, but understanding almost always opens the door to resolution. You cannot reason with someone who feels attacked, but you can work with someone who feels heard. That is the entire game. That is the rule. But let me warn you about something. The moment you start using this, people will accuse you of manipulating them. And they're not wrong. This is manipulation. But manipulation is just influence with a negative label. Every time you persuade someone, you're manipulating them. The question isn't whether you influence people. The question is whether you do it ethically. Tactical empathy is ethical because it doesn't extract value. It creates it. You don't get what you want at their expense. You get what you want because you helped them get what they need. That is the difference between a con artist and a master negotiator. One takes, the other gives first. So here's your challenge. Next time someone is upset, don't fix, don't defend, don't explain. Just listen. Label what you hear. Then stop talking and watch what happens. They'll stop fighting to be heard, and they'll start listening instead. Not because you changed what you said, because you changed what they felt. That is the FBI rule, and it changes everything. Now I need you to do something. If this clicked for you, if you actually understood what just happened here, I want you to test it in the next 24 hours. Not next week. Not when the perfect moment comes. 24 hours. Find someone who's frustrated, someone who's venting, someone who just needs to feel heard, and use one label, just one. It sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed. It seems like that really caught you off guard. Then stop. Let the silence work. Then come back here and comment what happened. I read every single comment, and I want to know if this actually changed your conversation the way it changed mine. But before you go, there's one more thing. This channel breaks down the systems that actually run the world. The psychology you were never taught. The skills that make people effective, not just educated. If you want more of this, subscribe and hit the bell. Not because I need the numbers, because the next video might be the one that saves a relationship you're about to lose, or a deal you're about to blow, or a conversation that could change your entire trajectory. You don't know which video it will be, but I do. It's the one you don't watch. So stay, learn, apply, and I'll see you in the next one.